Welcome to Grant Writing Made Clear. The truth is, the grant writing process isn't always clear, but with the right guidance, proven actionable strategies, and expert insights, the process becomes easier, simpler, and yes, clearer. I am Dr. Trenette, your host of Grant Writing Made Clear, and a former nonprofit president turned distinguished professor and behavioral scientist with 2 decades of grant writing experience. I remember what it was like to be a busy nonprofit leader with little time but big financial sustainability concerns. Over the years, I have transformed my skills from securing $1,000 foundation grants to winning multi-million-dollar federal grants. I created this podcast in response to the grant writing coaching requests I've received from nonprofit leaders, entrepreneurs, and professors over the years. Join me each week as I reveal insider strategies and share key lessons that turn wishful thinking into winning applications. Pull up a seat and get ready to be inspired, empowered, and transformed. Whether you're a beginner or a pro looking to sharpen your skills and create a life you love, you're in the right place, my friend. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to Grant Writing Made Clear, where we navigate the complex world of funding together and where your growth and impact are my purpose. I am your host, Dr. Trenette, and today we're talking about something that can make or break your success, not just in grant writing, but in your entire career. Today, we are talking about strategic planning. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, another boring planning session, I want you to hear me out. Strategic planning is like using GPS for a road trip. Without it, you might end up lost in the middle of nowhere, running low on gas, wondering how you got there. But with the right plan, you'll be cruising toward your next destination, hitting all the right stops along the way. So today, I'll share how I have used both 5-year and 1-year strategic plans since my very first year as an assistant professor. And I'll guide you through how to create your own plan. And don't worry, this is not about making a rigid and flexible document that gathers dust on a shelf somewhere. This is about crafting a plan that evolves with you, keeping you focused while allowing for adaptability, because let's be real, life happens. So we need a plan that is adaptable. Again, life happens. So you may be wondering, why exactly is strategic planning so important? In academia and the nonprofit world, we are constantly dealing with uncertainty. There is shifting funding opportunities, changing institutional priorities, and evolving community needs. Without a plan, it is easy to get overwhelmed or distracted by things that do not move us toward our goals. A solid strategic plan does 2 big things. First, it gives you clarity. When you know where you're going, it's easy to focus your energy on the right things, on what really matters to help you get there. Second, it helps you adapt. A good plan is not set in stone. It gives you structure while allowing flexibility when things inevitably change. So let's break this down further. What I really like about strategic planning, and I get so excited about it, I even take a day sometime to go and sit and think, especially near a beach, because you all know I love blue space. But what I really love about strategic planning is that it ensures that your daily, weekly, and quarterly activities align with your long term goals. It's about making sure you're spending time on what actually moves the needle instead of getting lost in busy work. So it really helps to ensure that you're not throwing spaghetti at the wall, that you're not just wasting your time, but that you are indeed taking steps that are meaningful and headed in the way that you want to go. And I know that planning and flexibility sound like opposites, but trust me, they are best friends. A well crafted strategic plan helps you pivot when necessary without feeling like you're starting from scratch. Think of it like a jazz musician or any musician for that matter. You have a structure, but you improvise when needed. That is the sweet spot. You have a structure, but you improvise when needed. You have a plan, but you're flexible enough to know that there may be times that you will need to modify your plan. So, since my very first year as an assistant professor way back in 2010, I have been creating both 5 year and 1 year strategic plans. And here's my approach, plus some tips for you. And I will say that I also advise my mentees to develop a 5 year and 1 year strategic plan. So, you're going to be hearing exactly what I tell my mentees. So, here we go. First, start with your goals. I want you to think big. What do you want to accomplish within the next 5 years? If you're in academia, is it tenure and promotion? Maybe it is. Maybe it is securing large external grants. Maybe it's securing NIH funding. Maybe it is publishing a certain number of peer reviewed articles. If you're in the nonprofit world, maybe your big goal is securing a major grant or expanding your programs. So I want you to start big. And once you have the big picture, I want you to work backwards. So first, let's start with our big goals, whatever those are: earning tenure and promotion, big grants, NIH funding, publications, expanding our programs, whatever those goals are. We start there and then we work backwards. We break each goal into smaller, actionable steps. And the more specific you are, the better. Okay. So, first, we start with our goals. Next, we create columns for key areas. So, I always use Microsoft Word to develop my strategic plan. Now, you all are probably fancier than me. And so many of you are probably using all kinds of things that I can't even imagine. I know I have started to use Asana recently. So maybe you're using Asana or maybe you're using Slack. Whatever it is that you're using, I want you to organize your plan into key categories. And here are what my categories look like. Yours may differ depending on your work responsibilities. So my categories are teaching, research, service, professional development, and personal growth. And personal growth is on there because burnout is real. We are human. And my goal is to prevent burnout as much as possible. So I start with these columns, right? I want you to start with your columns. For me, again, it's teaching, research, service, professional development, and personal growth. This helps me make sure I am making progress in all the right places. So I know what's expected for me at work. So I make sure that I have those columns there. I also know I want to continue to grow professionally. So I have a column for that. And then again, I have personal growth because I am trying to prevent burnout. I want to be here as long as I can for my family. Next, identify resources and challenges. So I want you to take inventory of what you have available to you. Do you have time? Do you have time? So if you're in academia, do you have a course buyout? If you are a new assistant professor, maybe you do. Maybe it's part of your startup package, or maybe you have a small grant that has allowed you to buy out of teaching. If that's the case, I want you to use your time wisely. Whatever time you have, use it wisely and consider the time, especially the course buyouts, a gift and make the most of it. As you're thinking about resources, I want you to also think about support. What support do you have available to help you achieve the goals you have listed in your strategic plan? Do you have editorial assistants, maybe mock reviews, external consultants? Whatever support you have available, I want you to be thinking about that as you are thinking about your goals and how you're going to get to your goals. Funding. That's another resource. Maybe you do have some funding, small grants, internal university resources. Usually, universities have pots of money available. So I want you to think about your resources. But I also want you to identify your challenges. Maybe you need to sharpen a particular skill. Maybe you need to know the office politics and know how to navigate around them. Because let's be real, every workplace has them. So maybe part of your challenge is learning how to navigate office politics. Knowing these challenges up front will help you be proactive and it will help you get to your goals. So you really want to take time to identify both your resources and your challenges. Maybe one of your challenges is lack of mentorship. Right. So thinking about both your resources and your challenges, because your resources will help you get there. Your challenges will help you understand the things that you need to work on so that you can get to the end of the road, so you can get where you want to go. Okay. Next, I want you to set a timeline. Deadlines keep you accountable. and and that's part of the reason why I do both a 5-year and a 1-year strategic plan, because the 5-year plan is so far out there that it's easy to kind of get lost. And so I also, after I had my 5-year plan developed, I developed a 1-year plan that really helps me to be really focused and to know what I need to do this year, either this calendar year or this academic year. And so for my 1-year plan, I check in at the end of the fall semester, the end of the spring semester, and after summer, which let's be honest, is not really a break. So I check in after fall, spring, and summer just to ensure that I am progressing towards the goals I've listed in my 1-year plan, which again stems from my 5-year plan. And then I make adjustments as needed. And so back when I was junior faculty, I would bring this 1-year plan to meetings with my mentor and say to them, here's what I said I would do this year, and here's what I did. And then I would explain the reasons why I did not achieve any goals if that was the case. So you always want to set a timeline and have your semester goals or your 6 months goals or your quarterly goals, because the timeline helps to keep you accountable. So again, I would encourage you to have both a 5-year plan, a 1-year plan, and for me, I also would break those down into semesters to ensure that I was making progress that would help me achieve my 1-year goals and ultimately my 5-year goals. So related to that, as I mentioned, I always engaged my mentors when I was a junior faculty member. So we're talking 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, I always engaged mentors. Even if it was just one, I had one primary mentor who was amazing, and so I would always at least engage that particular mentor. And so I would send my strategic plan to mentors both inside and outside my institution. They would review my strategic plan, and their feedback would help me refine my approach and help to keep me on track. So I would encourage you to develop your strategic plan, send it to mentors at your institution and those who are external, because they're going to have a different point of view, and ask them to give you feedback. What is it that they see that you don't see? Maybe you have blinders on around certain things, and they can help ensure that you are developing the tasks that you need to develop to help you achieve your goals. Also, as I said earlier, you want to review and adjust your strategic plans on a regular basis. Your strategic plan is not a one and done document. It really is a living, breathing, working guide that should evolve with you over time. So I recommend revisiting your strategic plan at least twice a year. Okay, so I've shared with you how I have developed my plans, how I have used them. And now I want us to get into how you can create your own strategic plan. First, you may want to start by conducting a SWOT analysis. So think about using the SWOT analysis in relation to the goals that you are listing in your strategic plan. This will help you make informed decisions and plan realistically. We talked a little bit about the strengths and weaknesses, and they will map on to the resources and challenges that I mentioned a couple minutes ago. After you do the SWOT analysis, you may want to define your key performance indicators. So you want to track your progress with measurable goals. This could be the number of grant applications submitted, the number of publications submitted to peer reviewed journals, the number of community partnerships established. Whatever it is, you want to define your key performance indicators and then track your progress with measurable goals. You also want to create action plans. So for each goal, outline specific tasks that will help you achieve those goals. And again, at the deadline. Okay. This will make execution crystal clear if you have your goal, the task underneath it that will help you achieve that goal, and your deadlines. Fourth, you want to communicate your plan. As I said before, I believe in engaging mentors. So I want you to share your plan with your mentors, colleagues, key stakeholders, including, for example, your dean or your chair or supervisor. You never know who might have valuable insights or resources to help you. So be sure to share your plan and ask for feedback. Five, stay committed. Consistency is key. I align my weekly goals with the categories in my strategic plan. So every Sunday, I have a Sunday meeting with myself. You've heard me say this before. Sometimes it's Monday morning, and I will sit down and write out my weekly goals, and I ensure that the categories that are in my strategic plan are also in my weekly plan. So remember, teaching, research, service, professional development, and personal growth. I have those same categories in my weekly goals, and the list of things that I'm writing that I need to do that week should be driving me towards the goals that I put in my strategic plan. So I do this every Sunday. And you all have heard me say I use a tablet, a notebook, and my favorite pen, and I write out my goals as neatly as I can. And as I achieve them each week, I just mark through them, which gives me a sense of pride and productivity. And I told you that I name the top of my weekly goals as accomplishments because that's my way of speaking it into existence. When I first started doing the weekly goals, and this was probably 20 years ago, I would call it things to do, things to do. And then maybe 5 to 10 years ago, I started calling my weekly goals accomplishments because I wanted to speak it into existence that these are not just things to do, these are things that I will do. These are things that I will do. And so when we have more time, I'll talk to you about how to draft weekly goals in a way that maps onto time so that you are not making too many promises each day. So that was something I had to work through years ago because at one time I would have 20 goals for a single day. And when I only achieved 7 of them, I was upset. And so it took time for me to realize that I need to be thoughtful in how many goals was realistic for each day. So we also want to be realistic with our weekly goals. And again, when we have time, we'll talk more about how to ensure that you are developing weekly goals. But this is the way to develop weekly goals that will map onto your strategic plans, which should be taking you towards your goals. So I want to conclude by just saying that strategic planning is not just a fancy exercise, it is a powerful tool that keeps you focused, flexible, and moving toward your goals. Without a plan, you risk getting stuck in survival mode. But with the plan, you can be intentional, proactive, and confident in your direction. I want to be really honest. I believe that part of the reason I have been successful as a tenured faculty member has been because I started with a plan and I continued to plan. I don't just work, I have a plan about where I am headed. And I believe that has helped me. So I want you to start with your goals, break them down, stay flexible, and review your plan on a regular basis. You'll be amazed at how much clarity and progress you will gain by just sitting down and drafting out your 5-year goals and then moving backwards to develop the tasks you need to do to get you there, and then developing your 1-year strategic plan as well, and moving backwards to develop the tasks you need to do there, and then doing your weekly goals on a regular basis You'll be surprised how much clarity and progress you will make at the end of the year. Thank you so much for joining me today on Grants Writing Made Clear. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a colleague or friend. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you create your 5-year and 1-year strategic plan, let me know. I'd love to hear how it's helping you. Until next time, happy planning. Take good care. Thank you for listening to Grant Writing Made Clear. I hope today's episode gave you inspiration, confidence, and clear information that you can turn into action. Remember, you are not alone. There is a whole community here striving for the same impact. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a quick review to help more people find the show, and share this episode with others in your network. It really does make a difference. For more grant writing tips and resources, follow me on social media. Until next time, keep showing up, keep learning, and remain determined. I'll talk to you next time. Goodbye for now.